SDO is a very powerful tool.
It's a very powerful tool. It's the best satellite we've ever launched. Wrote a proposal to do this work. This is what they want to do. They wrote it. The most memorable NASA moment for me would probably be the launch of SDO. Well, I really wanted to become an astronaut because when I was...
First of all, welcome in Nepal.
Oh, thank you very much. This is the best flag in the world.
Yeah.
With the two triangles, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So how are you?
I'm doing great. A lot of fun.
What makes you happy all the time? You seem like so happy.
I'm just, glad, to be here in Kathmandu to meet people who will be sitting in this chair in 40 years.
Wow.
And so you want the young scientists of today to grow old and mentor new young scientists when it's their time.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
And the way to do that is to come here and teach them some stuff, eat meals with them so that they get to know you a little bit more personally rather than just by asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. So since your beginning phase, we really want to know about your childhood journey, like what you want to become when you was a child.
Well, I really wanted to become an astronaut because when I was growing up, we were planning to land on the moon. Mm-hmm. They had announced they would land on the moon within a decade, and so everybody wanted to be an astronaut. I can't be an astronaut. I have bad eyes. So I can be the next best thing. I can be a scientist.
Yeah. What inspired you to study the sun?
I've studied the sun off and on for my entire career. I have studied it more since I started working with the Solar Dynamics Observatory because the spacecraft studies the sun, and part of my job is to watch the data, make sure the data is still good, that it has high quality, that people can use it to learn new things. And so it's important that I continue to do research on the data as well so that I can find mistakes, hopefully before it gets out to where it would bother other people.
Most memorable NASA moment?
The most memorable NASA moment for me would probably be the launch of SDO.
Wow.
So have you ever seen a sundog?
Yeah.
So the little rainbows on either side of the sun? Mm-hmm. So an SDO launched as it climbed up into the sky, way too slowly, by the way. It should have been going faster. We're all going, go faster.
Yeah.
As it climbs up into the sky, a sundog was there. Mm-hmm. And it flew by the sundog. And then it hit a layer in the atmosphere which caused a shock wave to move away from the spacecraft, and the sundog disappeared. This is the first time ever that something from man did something to a sundog.
Exactly.
And it was pretty cool. We were all cheering for that. We were happy that SDO launched as well, but we were even happier that it started off by doing something no payload had done before.
Talking about the SDO, how do you think about SDO since the beginning phase? Because before we creating anything, we need to think first. We need to imagine about it. That your beginning phase about the SDO.
So any mission at NASA or ESA or India or eventually Nepal starts by a group of people sitting around a room describing what they would like to measure, why, by making these measurements, what can they learn about the sun, and then going to the engineers and saying, this is what we want to build, this is the orbit we want to put it in, can we do that? And the engineers will take it and study it, and then they'll come back and say, it's too heavy, or or whatever they wish is wrong. And that takes a couple of years to work out all the different things to make sure that you're putting it in a good orbit and you have the right instruments. You want to have the best instruments, and you don't want to get to orbit and say, oh, if only we had this other thing, it would be great. And so it's a long study, but you're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. And so you want to make sure that you get most of it right.
Yeah, what I'm doing, or this is good or this is bad, we need to find out that. We need to give a lot of time for doing research. So, for the SDO, you did a lot of hard work. Do you think it will be success before you are launching that?
So we build for success.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody think, but sometime we will be fail. So
we had a great team for SDO. It was this was one of the best teams you could imagine assembling to build a spacecraft. And so they found all the problems. Some of them, we shouldn't have had, but we fixed them once we found them. We had a pretty high probability of being successful. We're ready if it's not. You're very disappointed if your mission doesn't work. But we had a great team, a well-built satellite, well-thought-out instruments.
Teamwork is a very, very important.
Yes.
For every project.
There are scientific studies that can be done by yourself. The guy who proved Faramont's last theorem worked in isolation for 20 years. He talked with almost no one about his work. And he proved it. But when you're building a spacecraft, you need people who can drill holes very accurately.
Yeah, exactly.
You need people who can design the optical part of a telescope so that you get the measurements you want. And rather than rely on a single person, you build a great team, and then it's a whole lot easier to build a great spacecraft.
From your opinion, how to build a strong team?
So the spacecraft are built by people who are trained to run teams. School, you learn how to run teams. I went to school, but I didn't learn how to run teams. But I learned from especially the second project manager, who was really good at finding the problems, making people, if you're going to have a problem and you're going to tell me next week, tell me today. Don't wait. It cannot get better by waiting till next week. And so she was very good at making people come to meetings and discuss the issues they were having. These issues will not leave the room. We're going to fix them in the team, and so there won't be any embarrassment or anything. But on the other hand, you get the best product by having people feel they can say, we have a problem that we need to fix, rather than keeping it quiet. And she was really good.
That's a great thing. That's a great thing, exactly.
So I tried to learn from her how to manage a team.
Exactly. So what is the biggest challenge as a project scientist?
Most of being a project scientist is just keeping people going. You don't have to order them around. The people that work on the spacecraft, the people that run the instruments, wrote a proposal to do this work. This is what they want to do. They wrote a big proposal to do it. So they really want to have this work. The science team members that we have are very good with open data. They don't hold the data to themselves. They let anybody in the world come in and look at it for new discoveries. The people that operate the spacecraft, I really think that they're doing a great job, and they are. They run the spacecraft 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We give them time off, and they use it, but they'll also come in on weekends to fix a problem because they know that the satellite is producing excellent data, and to be associated with this project makes them feel like they're making a good contribution.
So each and everything is necessary. Build a good team and run.
Yes. And you have to keep the team members involved.
Yeah, and we need to find the problem and also a solution. We need
Yes.
to make a great team, and team will encourage each other, and we will learn from that team, right?
Yes. If people ever feel they have to hide a problem,
Yeah.
then your team is not working.
Yeah,
People should be
exactly,
able,
exactly.
people should be able to walk in. We have a meeting every week.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, we want to hear about it at the next weekly meeting.
Yeah.
It's okay if it's going to take us a while to fix it, but we want to hear about it at the next meeting so that we can make sure you get the people you need to fix it, make sure that, if you need additional hardware, we can start getting a hold of it. That's what makes the team successful in the long run.
And also, I think if somebody is feeling bad and they just hide, they do not talk about their own personal life problem. But sometimes some of the personal life issue may harm in professional life also. So, if somebody feel bad or somebody feel different or somebody is suffering by different issues, if team feel that, the team also suffer that way also, and that makes more familiar, right?
We try. I mean, we support people if they're having personal problems, but we also try and keep ourselves a little bit separate because it might be okay to.
People will demotivate. Sometimes people think differently. Sometimes they maybe feel demotivated. So we need to encourage each other, and that makes more energize ourselves, right? So team makes more strong by that way also.
We try.
Yeah. So I feel like many more companies build by team, right? So
we need to support each other.
Yeah.
But we also have to make sure that we don't try and fight their battles.
Yeah, exactly.
We're very, and you see that, with the interactions around here, people are friendly and they're trying to be helpful. We sit at lunch and we talk about various things. So I think that scientists in general like to sit and talk with each other.
Oh, why? Quite curious about that.
Well, because it's how we get things done. You may find your next person to work with you. There's students here. If I was younger and looking for students, I could start looking for students at a meeting like this. You could sit down and talk with them and see if they want to begin working with you, maybe a semester where you give them a little project.
Yeah.
And they could stay here in Nepal and work on the project here. Maybe we can work out one of the internships at NASA to the United States.
So how to find the internship at NASA for the beginner who are interested?
So NASA has an internship program. I do not hire interns. There's an internship program that you apply to, and you can request areas of research that I'm in, and then they'll send them to me. But I'm not allowed to just hire them.
That's a great way for the students who are interested for join NASA.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Doing an internship, we offer.
What is the requirement for that? May we know a little bit because it will helpful for all the Nepalese students or also for all the international students.
So in the United States, you can become a NASA intern when you're in secondary school until you're about 18 years old.
Oh, after secondary school, we can do
then you
that.
go to. So for international students, it's more after your first 4 years of college, so that you've gotten a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
And also you've shown the maturity to go away, and that because you're going to go thousands of miles away. So you're older, you're more mature, and so we encourage people who have finished their undergraduate to start looking at the NASA internships.
Okay, so for the young student who want to do research about the SDO or want to know more about the SDO, how can we learn step by step?
Well, we have a website, of course. We have a website.
From the website we can learn.
We publish a lot. We're an old mission now, and so So now it has become not as easy, I guess, to find out. We've lost our budget has been trimmed. We've lost the people that answer those kinds of questions. I answer them when they come in, but go to the website, look at the information we have there. Go to the internship website and see what are available, what opportunities are currently available. And once you have kind of know what's going on, we can probably talk.
Oh, okay.
So I do answer emails when I get them.
Obviously. Become a researcher, a perfect researcher. What kind of skill set is necessary, or what kind of skill set we need to learn from the beginning phase?
So any kind of physics, which is what we start, we're in physics, is going to require you to do some pretty good math. Calculus is just the beginning, and I took math up into the graduate level. That may not be necessary, but you'll have to know math. You'll have to know quite a bit of physics. We actually use information from many parts of physics to study the sun. It's amazing how many different fields of physics we draw in: chemistry, quantum mechanics, electrodynamics, magnetic fields. So there's a lot of different things, and so you have to kind of start learning all of these little things for solar physics. But each field is going to be different. And so in chemistry, you have to, what kind of chemistry do I want to do? And then find
many more fields inside the chemistry, inside the physics. So we need to fix that first.
We need to decide. I want to do organic chemistry.
Yeah.
And then they're going, what kind of organic chemistry? Are you going to look for drugs to help save humanity? Are you going to look for new fertilizers? What kind of chemistry do you want to do? And then you would go to a school that has that kind of research already in place. And then you would learn how they do the research.
Yeah.
And so you learn the methods of doing the research. And then the goal of when you get a PhD is you pose a problem of your own device, and then you solve the problem. So you show that you can do all the steps of the research. You can pose a problem, you can solve the problem, you can write it up, you can present it to a committee, and they're satisfied that you have done a significant piece of research. And so it's a little bit formalized in that respect, because it actually is easier.
Okay. Talking about the solar science, what are the sun hiccups?
The sun hiccups. You like that little phrase, didn't you?
Yeah.
Those are, so a hiccup in a human is just a little inconvenience, right? A hiccup on the sun is a solar flare, which is a very bright set of light on the sun, or one of these coronal mass ejections, where a filament, it looks like a line on the face of the sun, is thrown off of the sun. And so those are the hiccups. The sun doesn't care. The sun doesn't know this happens. It's already put the field outside. It wants the field to go away. So the hiccups they're just little things to the sun. Yeah. That's why I call them a hiccup. But they're big to us, because the sun thinks they're small, but they're big to us. I mean, we're a little tiny planet. We're we are 1% of the size of the sun and 1/1,000,000th of the mass. So something that's not very big to the sun can be big to us. So the flares affect our atmosphere. They can change radio communications. They can affect GPS. They can cause navigation problems, especially when you're flying in very high latitudes. The coronal mass ejections, on the other hand, are the ones that come by the Earth and can really cause damage on the Earth. They can cause power outages and a variety of other things that we see on the ground. And we actually see the effects. They're small normally, but you can actually see their effects in almost every day. It's only when it's a really big one that causes failure. So the goal of the power grid people is to provide power to their paying customers on a regular basis. However it's agreed to, they want the power to flow to their customers so that the money will flow from the customers back to the power company. So the power company wants to know if their transmission lines are going to go offline, no longer send electricity. They need to know that because the paying customers aren't going to like that. Also, if the transmission lines stop, then the generator on the other side no longer sees a good place to send electricity. And so they have to worry about taking very nice care of their generators until the transmission lines are working again. So they have two sides they have to worry about: paying customers being unhappy and their generators being unhappy. So they would like to predict that the transmission lines will fail. And then they can do some of that work beforehand. They can use another set of transmission lines. They can turn the generators down in that one sector and just call the customers up and say, we're going to take you down for a few hours, but it will avoid a few days of outages. And so that's why they want to know. But you also need a very accurate prediction to do that, because you don't want to turn it down and say we're avoiding something, and then 2 hours later the storm hits and causes you to go down anyway. So they want more accurate predictions so they can better handle the entire process of generating electricity, getting it to their paying customers, and keeping the paying customers happy.
So how does SDO help to understand the sun?
So SDO helps us to understand the sun by giving us data that's related to those flares I talked about and to the coronal mass ejections. And so that allows people to monitor the sun. A flare went off. And they know it because SDO is going to show it to them. We have other people that are measuring them as well, but SDO shows nice pictures. They can kind of figure out some of the energies that are happening. So they're really happy with that. The coronal mass ejections happen when one of these filaments, a dark line, lifts off the sun. And SDO shows them very nicely. There's some of the most spectacular pictures from SDO is watching the filaments rip off the surface. So SDO provides a knowledge of what the sun is doing right now. And that's what the people that we call space weather operators want. They want to know what the sun is doing now and what do they have to do about it. The scientists, on the other hand, want what's called the magnetic field of the sun. All this stuff, the flares, the coronal mass ejections, come from the magnetic field of the sun. And so they want to know the magnetic field so they can take the magnetic field, make a model, and say, oh, a flare is about to happen because my model says so. Magnetic field is doing this, flare is going to happen. The magnetic field is doing this, coronal mass ejection is about to happen. So the data is made to have two purposes. Is to provide information to space weather operators, and then the data to the scientists who are trying to understand why the sun's magnetic field does what it does. So it's that dual use that is why space weather is designed to do great science research, but it's also designed to help the people on the Earth very directly.
Basically, SDO is a very powerful tool.
It's a very powerful tool. It's the best satellite we've ever launched.
Do you ever think it will be fail before you launching that? Because many more people doing lots of things in life, and sometimes that did not work. Back to that point, why I am asking, because as a young girl, I want to become an astronaut. Basically, I have a dream, so I want to know about that, because if I set a different kind of goal in life, and if that did not work, I need to know about that, right?
Right.
So, for the beginning phase, we need to build very strongly. Base.
Right.
Base need very strong, right? And then that will work out. How long you takes a time for make that?
For the initial building.
Yeah, initial.
So I believe we started in 2000, late 2001, 2002.
Oh.
We started building the spacecraft. We were ready for launch in 2009. So it took us 8 years
8 years, yeah.
to build. So the planning took about 2 years.
Oh.
And then the actual building took the remainder of the 6. It's always hard to say completed, because some things completed early, some things, completed at were the last thing in. But then, unfortunately, the rocket engine that we were going to use blew up.
Oh.
They were doing a test, and it blew up. So we went into almost 2 years of waiting for them to retest the rocket and recertify the rocket launch.
Yeah.
So we were the second. Another rocket bumped us, or another spacecraft bumped us, and then got the launch on the first one, which is always the riskiest one. And then once that one was done, then they cleared us to get on the next one. So yes, things happen.
Yeah, and I think you did lots of hard work you did for achieve this goal.
Yeah, well, I did not work nearly as hard as some of the people that were building the instruments. This is hard to get them right, to get them aligned. Then you realize you made a mistake. You have to take it apart and rebuild it. They spent many hours in the labs getting the instruments right. We had to build special equipment to build the spacecraft. We used tanks that won't rot. They're made out of titanium, but that requires you to use special welding tools. That meant they had to clear the building out and work overnight to weld the
May not work.
To do the research.
Yeah,
to
so that you
anticipate.
success.
Yeah.
But if somebody is doing now and they will find out the result very soon, may not be work out because need lots of research.
Yes, to build a space, you don't build a spacecraft in your garage.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to do a lot of study. Even a small spacecraft. I'm involved in a small spacecraft called Sunset, and that only took about 2 years to plan and build. But nonetheless, people worked very hard for 2 years to do that.
Yeah.
But the people that were on the team had built other things.
Yeah.
So they knew a lot of the shortcuts. Oh yeah, when we were building this other spacecraft, these were problems. So it's expertise. Sunset is being used to train younger engineers and scientists on how to build and launch spacecraft. These small CubeSats are designed for that purpose. So it's fun to be involved in people coming up with novel ways to build instruments and fit them into these old tiny shoe boxes that we're trying to build them in.
Okay. So SDO is your passion, or you just have an interest? Because in life, if we need a success or we need to achieve anything in life, then consistency needed, and also dedication and passion, right? So from your beginning phase, SDO is your passion, or you just follow your interests? It's similar, but
I'm not sure I would call it a passion. I work very hard for SDO. So I do interviews all the time. I do a lot of outreach. I've graduated 6 PhD students. So I guess I'm passionate. I never thought of it that way. But I have other things as well. I even encourage my students to never be so dedicated that you miss the rest of the world. And so I play guitar, I play trombone, I raised my son. So it's maybe it is a passion.
You are doing that and you are happy achieving that kind of thing, and that makes us happy. That makes us inspired, and that's a great thing in life that you did. And I think that's a very important part for the young generation who are interested for the solar science. So it's very helpful for them, for me as well. So I'm here today talking with you because I was quite inspired by your work.
Good.
Yeah. Because that kind of passion, that kind of dedication is quite impressive for me personally, and I think a lot of students want to go that way, want to achieve a different thing in life, right? So what advice you wanna give for the younger generation?
So the younger generation, find something you're really interested in. You need a
How
goal.
to find?
That's why
For the beginning phase, we may be divert because we go one thing and maybe that did not work out, so we jump another, or maybe in life.
So what I'm from the United States.
Yeah.
So I can only speak to how it works in the United States. But I encourage people to go to a big university.
Oh.
Go. If you want to do physics, okay, go to the University of Maryland, because that's where I live, is the state of Maryland. So we have the University of Maryland, and try physics. Get a year. If you don't like physics at the end of that year, you can always look around the college and find another place and switch over, maybe to botany and study plants, or, do something else. And so if you want to be a professional or do research, that's an excellent way to find a passion without investing a lot of your life searching down one road and then realizing that's not where you wanted to go. But the more important thing is it allows you to change. If you really can't take the first thing you picked, then you can just do a slight course change and find something else. This doesn't work for everybody. Yeah. Some people want to be an artist, and they're going to be an artist no matter what. And so they don't go to school. They just become an artist, and if you get frustrated, you don't have a place to turn to try a new thing.
Yeah.
So if people are interested in science, which is the only thing I can speak for, a nice big university, it's a lot of different courses. Try some out. You're there for 4 years, right? I took math courses. I took electrical engineering courses. I even took German courses. I am not a linguist.
What course will be the best course? Because everybody have a different choice. But in future, which course will be more impactful for human life?
I don't know which course it is, because it's the accumulation.
Yeah.
So it's how the person takes all that stuff that they've learned and stitches it together in their mind. That's how you become impactful. It's probably not a single course.
Yeah. But in general, basically in human life, something is very, very important. So for the very, very important list, which course will be the best course?
I don't know which course, but I can't. I mean, probably teaching stellar evolution was probably important, because it made me step back and realize I was missing some of the details. It was more not taking a course, it was more when I started teaching them. And I was teaching beginning astronomy with several hundred students, and realizing that most of them didn't care. They were here to get a grade, and they thought they would never use astronomy again.
Okay.
So I think that teaching the graduate course in stellar structure and evolution was probably the thing that made the most impact. Because then I realized the world is far more complicated than I was thinking.
Okay. So for the future outlook, do you have any plan for the further sun research?
So my students and I, over the past 5 years, and actually long before that with other students, have been looking at the poles of the sun, trying to understand the north and south pole of the sun. Very difficult to study because we don't see it very well. It's rounding over. You can't look down on it. So you have to find information that you can get from the really bad line of sight that we have. And we've been coming up with some nice techniques. And so I think that, but we also think the poles are the key to predicting the long-term solar activity, which is what NASA wants me to do. So we want to, what will the sun be doing in 5 years, 10 years? And we think the polar regions are where that is determined. And so we would like to figure out how to understand the polar regions of the sun. And is it possible to send a mission, build a satellite to go there and make the necessary measurements? So that's, I guess, the next important thing.
We need like all kind of skill or...
So you can do data analysis. We already have data.
Analysis.
Yeah, we have a lot of data. And so you can think, you can ask, what do sunspots look like? And then go get the data and start describing them. And people do that. They try and figure out how do sunspots change in time. And is there some consistency? Can they see that 2 days after they form, they're always like this? Kind of, so they can ask questions about how they grow, shrink, and break up. We ask questions, what are the poles doing? So we're looking at a special kind of data for that. The goal for us would be to describe what we could learn by flying a mission. We kind of know what we would measure. We have new kinds of instrumentation that we haven't built yet, but that we could use for this. Make the satellites smaller and easier to fly over the poles. But that's what we have to think of. And that's why we have the big meetings where we sit around and say, I want to measure this. And somebody else says, no, I want to measure this. Can we do it on the same instrument? What can we do to save weights? So we probably don't have any really new physical thing that we could build, but we know the kind of stuff we want to measure.
Okay, let's talk about our this seminar. What is the mission about this seminar?
So the goal is, this is one of quite a few of these international space science schools. The goal is to go to countries that typically do not have a space program. So Zambia,
Kenya,
India, Indonesia, Nepal, and to show the people, especially students, the graduate and undergraduate students, that you can still study space even if you don't have a space program.
Space agency or like that kind of...
And the idea is maybe not this group of students, but their students will be the ones that can build new instruments and launch them into space. So the idea is that humans can study space no matter where they are, but they can't study space if they don't know the data is there.
Exactly.
And so we bring people here to talk about the sun, to talk about how the sun interacts with the Earth's atmosphere, all the effects that are seen. What are some research topics that people are interested in? And by just explaining that to the students, they get to see all the different things that they could look at. So it's like you keep saying, they need to see new things to see whether they want to go try it. But if you don't know that they exist, you can't try it.
Yeah.
The nice thing about data analysis studies, which is what we emphasize, is that the data is free. The software is generally research projects that involve space that's useful to them because they get their education, and to other people because they'll benefit from their research.
Yeah.
And they don't have to leave Nepal. They can make their studies here, and then by doing that, we build more scientists here in Nepal.
Exactly.
And so that's our goal, is to let Nepal have more scientists.
That's a very great thing. Many more people belong from the remote. This is a Kathmandu city, right? But I belong from the Okhalunga. That's more remote than here. And we belong from the Nepalese government school. And we learn from the Nepalese language, right? So we learn even the English subject teach us by Nepali language when I was kid. And then I don't want to blame anyone because maybe the system is wrong or something is wrong, or I have no idea about that. But for that kind of people, they have an interest, they do hard work, they do not speak English, but they want to learn, right? So for those, generally, they have one basic background strong, right, for that any field. So they need to learn step by step.
Yes.
And genuine interest work out in real life. I am focusing for those who belong from remote background, right? So for those, how can we teach them step by step from the base?
So we would like to say that we can serve anyone in the world.
Yeah.
But there's only one of me. There's not I don't know how we don't, even in the United States, we don't reach down to every school district to teach things. We rely on the students to come into the universities and then say, oh yeah, I would like to do science. And so the students come out of the universities to do science. It's far more difficult to go down to the secondary school level or before, because they don't have time. They have all this other stuff they have to teach the students, and they don't want us coming in and interfering with that. They've got 42 things they have to teach this semester, and I'm going to come in and teach them something that's different and probably not one of the ones that they have to teach. So we usually have been concentrating at the university level. Now there have been very clever people who have taught themselves. One of them was Clyde Tombaugh, who discovered Pluto. He built his own telescope. Eventually got a job kind of as a unskilled astronomer, but as a result of his knowledge and thinking process, was able to find Pluto. So it's getting more rare to find people that can do it outside of the university structure.
Yeah.
There's just so much you have to learn.
Oh, so I think from the remote background people need to do self-study more. I think that will be helpful, very, very helpful, and connect with the different website, and just go from the website and just try to enroll such kind of course. That will be very helpful also.
Right. Now there's a lot of places in the United States where you can take courses online.
Oh.
MIT offers engineering courses. Stanford offers a few courses. Some of them are free, so you can take the course. You can register and get a certificate that you passed the course. But I know that there have been people in the past that taught themselves extremely complicated things.
Yeah.
And there's probably people on the earth that can do that. But it is a lot easier if you have some assistance.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially nowadays, to kind of trim off some of the materials so you only have to see a portion of it to make progress. Solar physics can be a very complicated thing if you try and do the entire sun. It has nuclear physics in the core, It has various kinds of heat conduction and radiation transfer and other complicated subjects on their own. And then there's just how do we see the sun? And that's a complex. When you if you ask the question, what am I seeing when I take a picture of the sun? That's actually a question we haven't completely answered yet. But that doesn't stop us from using the data to explore other parts of the sun. And it bothers us that we don't quite understand how things are working. But we can answer other questions that aren't dependent on that. And if you are working independently, you might get stuck.
Yeah, that's it.
I can't. Why? I don't see. I don't understand exactly what I'm getting. And if you get stuck there, then you don't see that is something we'll figure out. But if you just step back a little bit, you can still do useful stuff without knowing exactly what you're seeing.
Wow.
And we will answer that question. People are worried about it. They're trying to answer it. But the rest of us don't have to wait. We can still make useful observations and interpret them and help our research and help humanity.
Okay. So after COVID, many people enroll different online course. Do you believe with the physical class is better or online course is better? Because sometimes online course save time and we do job also and study both. So
that's really the person.
Depend upon person.
But then on the other hand, in little things like this, if you're going to do online courses,
we can meet people. If
you need to come to things like this so you can make sure that you didn't go off on some crazy tangent. And by talking with the people at this meeting, you might learn that boy, I really got out. I need to go back and be a little more focused. I believe that interacting with other scientists is very important. It's hard to know. That's already done.
Exactly.
If somebody says, "Oh, that's an excellent question," but unfortunately, it's already been done. Now you can still decide to study it, and see if you can answer the question better, more accurately. But we're not allowed to ignore what people have done before. We have a very strong emphasis on, whenever you write a paper, telling what has happened before. There's in first section of every science paper has a little history of the subject, and that tells the people that are looking at your paper that you know enough about the subject to make a valid contribution. So it's important that you know what's happened in science.
As a project scientist and working at NASA, I think you have a lots of hardworking and maybe a challenging journey in life, in your personal life, professional life. How do you balance?
Well, I chaperoned every one of my son's overnight trips.
Oh,
that's a balance.
that's a good answer, by the way.
I coached various sports. So I coached soccer, various forms of baseball, basketball. So you just have to to make sure that you don't live for your job. You have to get out and away from that. My son and I, American football, where I live, near Baltimore, Maryland, has a team called the Ravens. Go Ravens.
That makes a difference.
So we went to a game when he was quite young. And they had a marching band. And he said I wanted to march in that band. And 2 years later, when he was old enough to be in the marching band, he came and said, "Dad, I want to be in the marching band." Well, he couldn't drive. So I had to join the marching band too. So for a year, we practiced and marched with the Baltimore Ravens marching band. So that was a nice experience.
As a scientist, we need to maintain our brain, right? So people think like what you eat, your mind will become like that. So how do you balance your physical fitness and mental fitness?
Well, if you look at me, my physical fitness is not.
No, you are so fit. Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
I mean, I try and eat healthy.
Yeah.
I try not to eat overly processed foods. That's the big thing right now.
What kind of food you like?
Well, I eat salads a lot. That doesn't mean I like them,
That's a great thing.
but I eat salads.
And many more people believe with the self-healing and sometimes give a time and affirmation workout. Do you ever try like that kind of affirmation or imagination or train yourself like that kind of journey?
So if I need to sit down and just clear my head for a while, I might just sit down and play guitar.
Oh, that makes you healing.
Yeah, that.
Relaxation.
Well, it gets my mind off of anything else, and now I'm trying to, get that lick or get to play the song or whatever, and it's a different kind of concentration. But I usually do about a half hour of playing before I go to sleep, and so that seems to work to relax me.
Like as a human being, everybody have a different human nature. Like somebody have temper high, maybe aggressive, maybe some are the very polite. So how you stay calm, make yourself calm?
I'm not sure how I do it. I just have over the years tried to stay calm.
How you make like that kind of calmness?
I don't know. I just...
For the young people who have such kind of problem, like if somebody will tell something bad, then that person makes so angry.
So a long time ago, I decided that if something happens, and 5 years from now, I'm going to laugh at it.
Yeah, that's true.
Or tell it as a joke, a funny story. Then why get mad now? Because this is when I need to do the laugh. I don't really need the laugh in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
What I need right now is to not get mad. There are some classic times where I got mad, and people still remember them.
That makes you stay calm.
But now they become funny stories. We all laugh at them.
Yeah.
I would say that was probably the thing I tried to do. Is if I was going to be able to laugh at it in 5 years, then I don't want to make the situation worse now. So I guess that's my way of dealing with crazy stuff.
What makes you motivated every day as a project scientist or as a human being? We need make ourselves happy and keep motivated.
It's fun. I mean, being a project scientist can be a lot of work. But on the other hand, you're dealing with some of the top people, the top researchers in their field. And you deal with them every day, and it's a privilege to work with them. And it shouldn't be if going to work to deal with those people was not fun, then you shouldn't be a project scientist. Because you're the one that has to cheerlead the project for people. You're the one that has to tell everybody you just got a budget cut. You're the one that has to hand out bad assignments. But on the other hand, we try and stay focused on the mission, which is to keep SDO running. And that probably is what keeps me going, is I have a great team.
Wow. What is the life meaning you find out?
Oh, I'm actually so busy I haven't really gotten a life meaning. I mean, that would require me to sit back and, and say, what will I be remembered for? And I think I haven't gotten there yet. I've been too busy. I've changed fields of research multiple times in my life. So it's not like I've studied the sun for 50 years. I've studied many different things. They're all fun. And I think I haven't decided if I want to change again.
Oh, okay. So it means like we need to enjoy every moment, even if it's a sad moment or a happy moment. We need to keep balance and then go away.
Sure. When I'm sad, I'll go play guitar or read a book.
What kind of a book you like to read?
I've done science fiction. I do a lot of plane flights, so I buy what I call airplane books. They're usually like murder mysteries. They don't really do much for the world population, but they pass the time on the airplane while you're going from one place to another. I've been reading a lot more history as I've gotten older. So to me, it's fascinating that when you read what people did 3,000-5,000 years ago, and you realize that they were actually pretty close to what we have now in some ways. They had indoor plumbing. They had water flowing through their houses to help with air conditioning. They had all these things that you never realize that. It's not taught to you in school. They just say that Egypt is dusty with pyramids, and Iran was called Persia for a long time, and there was a lot of people fighting in Persia. So you don't learn a lot, but now I've gotten more into trying to see what the earlier populations were like. And so that's been fun.
Oh, cool. So I found one line which is like, read people like a book.
Okay, so how do I read?
Do you believe about that? Read people like a book.
Well,
So I think we can learn a lots of things from people. So do you ever feel that?
So you have to, when you start an interaction with someone, you have to read them. I don't know if you read them like a book, but you have to read them to make sure that you haven't antagonized them, you haven't greeted them the wrong way. In my case, you haven't forgotten their name. So it's, yes, I think you do read people's reaction.
Sometimes that's necessary to know about that, and we can learn from them.
Yes, you can learn very quickly whether the interaction is being successful. Yes, and I interact with a lot of people. So.
Obviously, you know lots of things. Young generation people like me, if I want to become a project scientist like you, so how can we go that way, like step by step from the beginning phase, what I need to do, and then...
So to become a project scientist, you first have to have a lot of education. You need to know a lot about the field that the spacecraft is going to study. You have to know a lot about how spacecraft work. Now, you don't have to know a lot of detail stuff, but you kind of have to understand how orbits work. How am I going to get to orbit? You can't just say, I'm going to get on a rocket. You kind of have to understand, what the rocket has to do to get up there, what are the dangers involved. So you need more experience than just coming out of college. We typically want a PhD person because the most important thing is working with the scientists to make the data right, not running the spacecraft, but working to keep the data correct. So you usually need a PhD in the field. And then we at NASA have realized that there's no real formal training of project scientists. So we're trying to mentor project scientists, get them to see how things work. I have one that's coming with me to meetings right now, so he can see kind of what the interaction is in the various meetings that we have. We've realized it's not something that we have been doing very well. And so we're trying to get better at it. And it's more like we don't want it to be like the project manager who takes a huge number of courses on leadership and interpersonal skills and stuff. We want them to still be a scientist. But we really want them to be able to keep the team going.
Yeah, each and everything need to do a common thing as well.
Right. So it really is to go to places that would be launching satellites, NASA, ESA, JAXA in Japan, down Indros, I believe it's down in India, and start working there and just tell them you would like to learn how to be a project scientist and see if you can get us be an assistant to an ongoing project and things like that. It's more of an apprenticeship right now.
Yeah. Training course for project science.
That's where we now realize that we've
that will be helpful
should.
Because it will be helpful in practical life. So I just have a concern about that. So now you wanna ask any question with?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into podcasting?
Nowadays, it's a digital generation also because of the technology and development. So
are you going to write a course, a step-by-step course on how to become a podcaster?
Somebody want to do a podcast, and for them to think about that, like if somebody is a shy person, if they do not speak out, if they have a knowledge inside but they do not speak outside, right? So that they need to think about that also, and then they have some kind of skills like editing skills and also making a video skill, and also what kind of content you are making.
Right.
We need to find out that, and then just making such kind of videos, and then editing, and then posting, and then I think many more people give advice, feedback, and then we need to, if we do like anything wrong, then we need to improve that, because in life everybody have a mistake, and we need to encourage that mistake and never make that mistake again. That's a great thing.
See, it's just like becoming a project scientist.
Every work have the different kind of rules and regulation. I believe that, and if in life I want to become a good podcaster, then I need to give 100%. And if I want to become a project scientist, I need to go very depth. I need to do a lot of research, right? So for the podcast, also need a lot of research and give better information for the people. And I think that's a great way for the people. It will be helpful for them also. So my concern is always for giving positivity and knowledge sharing and help for other people as well, and learn from all the people.
See?
Yeah.
So you're already being like a project scientist.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You want to encourage people.
I encourage them what I learned from my own life. I will tell that, but I think like I need to learn a lot of things, because learning is never ending, right? So I believe in learning, and I'm learning, and what I learn, I will share my knowledge. So that's the way.
I told my son he should never go to sleep without having learned something. Be trivial, but he should always be able to look back over the day and say, I learned something today.
Wow.
So I don't know if it worked, but I used to tell him that anyway.
Okay. Lazy.
Of course.
Sleeping is a good thing. I do some of the research, and from that research, many more girls or boys, they sleep a lot and their mind will be more active. Do you believe about that?
I'm not really sure about dreaming. I'm not a biological kind of scientist.
Yeah.
So I know that sometimes when you dream, your brain seems to solve problems that you were having.
Yeah.
So I think that it's
We talk a lot.
I think that that there's nothing wrong with thinking that when you dream, your brain is working on to solve things. Because, sometimes you wake up and you have a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
My problem is I often forget it about 10 minutes later, but that's okay. I think that your brain is processing information even when you're sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. How can we make our mind active? How can we give a meditation for mind?
I just play guitar.
For playing guitar.
That's where I just kind of. I have to do something. I don't find sitting quietly is good. Sometimes I have to, but the better thing for me is to do something else, cross train.
Yeah.
Rather than just sit and meditate. That's just what I've learned.
So you did a lot of things, and especially that project, which is a great thing for all over the world who belong from the remote area. So that's a great thing. I personally feel so inspired by you. So thanks for giving this kind of opportunity. Keep creating such kind of opportunity, and all kind of people will follow such kind of session.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me come on and talk about how to be a project scientist and get people excited about the kind of work we do. So thank you.
So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
So keep enjoying and have a very good time.
Namaste.